Hey guys, so let's talk about the green rares and mythic rares. First on our list is Consuming Blob, and there's a lot to unpack on this card. First of all, it's kind of got like the Tarmogoyf ability, where its power and toughness are equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, which is kind of weird for green to have. I don't know if well, Tarmogoyf is pretty good too, but and then on top of that, on your end step, and this is important because when you cast this in play, especially if your opponent's tapped out, you're guaranteed to at least get one creature token out of it. It does remind me of Biogenic Ooze, where it provides a lot of value if left unchecked. I don't know if this is good enough for historic. 5 CMC is a lot for a card that is only mildly impactful and has a lot of setup involved. But maybe there'll be an interesting card in standard for this. Maybe like a Sultai Shell that also runs a lot of removal and stuff, like a kind of a top end finisher. So an okay card. I'm not sold that's actually gonna have any impact, but it could. You never know. Next we have Primal Adversary. So again, this is that adversary cycle. When this one is kicked, you get to create. That many lands you control become 3/3 wolves with haste. So, I like the fact that it's a 3-mana 4/3 trample wolf. Wolf is a very relevant creature type right now. I don't like the fact that it has to make your land into a creature, which opens you up to removal, like a board wipe, which could, wipe your lands out. But who knows? Mono green was backbreaking in standard 22, and there's no reason why this card can't see play there. I think it will see play in standard. I don't know about historic, so we'll see. Renin 7, kind of a controversial planeswalker. They have it at $31. I think there's a few requirements that make a planeswalker garbage or good. One is that when it comes into play, it can defend itself. So this definitely fits the bill with its -3 ability. It's got you can make what will probably be at a minimum a 5/5 reach land, or not even a reach land, it's just a tree folk token. And then, it's got a really interesting ultimate that I don't know if it necessarily will end the game, but probably be pretty close. Praetor's Council was a pretty good card back in the day. And then, it can help you ramp really fast with, I think a lot of the people poo-pooing this card say, well, why do you need to ramp when you've already hit 5 mana? So this is definitely going into some kind of big, huge rampy card that wants to even get past 5 mana really quickly with its put any number of land cards into your battlefield. It's interesting that it also fills up your graveyard for flashback and disturbed and all kinds of other graveyard shenanigans. So it's an interesting planeswalker, and 5 loyalty is a lot for a planeswalker for 5 mana. Just to ask Nissa, so we'll see how this card plays out. It might be overpriced at $31. It might be spot on. All right, next we have Augur of Autumn. We've seen this effect quite a lot. In fact, this is actually kind of a downgrade compared to some of them because you have to have Coven to actually turn on part of it, but at least you get to play lands from the top. The Moldavan Oracle saw a lot of play. Of course, it let you play multiple lands a turn. This is probably going to go in the mono green shell. It does help you from getting flooded. The Coven thing's a little concerning, I think, because this card is vulnerable to board wipes, but at least it lets you get the lands off the top of your deck and move on to the next thing. And Vivian also saw this effect a great, to some goodness. So I could actually see this going into some sort of kind of green rampy vomit your entire deck out onto the board shell. So yeah, $8 seems fair. It could definitely see play. I'm more partial to green cards than red cards, so even if this card is kind of awkward in some cases, it definitely could see play. Next, we have Briarbridge Tracker, 2/3 body with vigilance. It's a human scout. I like the fact that it has an enter the battlefield ability that basically replaces itself. And then also it becomes a freaking 4/3 with that token as long as you don't sack it. So pretty good, 4/3 for 3 mana that can replace itself if it dies. This will just see play in mono green, I would think. There's not that many good 3-drop green cards other than the troll to kind of compete with that 3-drop spot. So yeah, all around a good card. All right, now we have Sarith, the Viper's Fang, legendary human warlock. Oh yes, this card is actually pretty interesting. Other untapped creatures you control have hexproof, which is pretty nasty. Too bad she doesn't protect herself. It's kind of suffers for the same thing as the 3/4 flying angel from Dominaria, where it can protect everything but itself. So usually it's the thing that's going to get targeted. Also, you can untap another target creature or land you control with her to kind of protect them from instant speed removal, which makes combat a nightmare for her. And then the whole everything you have, it has death touch as long as it's attacking, is also annoying. Yeah, so I think the only problem is that it's vulnerable from being removed itself. Yeah, and I don't know if it's better than the Chariot, the cat Cadillac, to replace that 4-drop slot. So we'll see. Storm of the Festival. So it's kind of like a really expensive collected company. So maybe this goes along with Ren and 7, where, yeah, I want to hit 6 mana and then start vomiting up big 5-drop cards. And it's not just creatures, it's permanents. So, and an interesting effect, maybe kind of like Tooth and Claw or something like that. And the fact that it's got flashback is just gravy, So I could see this card seeing play in at least standard as just a way to get lots of card advantage and tempo. So now we have Tolavar's Huntmaster. He's a werewolf. Oh yes, this guy is basically like Grave Titan, man. First of all, he comes into play and creates 2/2 wolf tokens. So for 6 mana, you're getting 10 power, which is a crap ton. And then when he flips over, he makes more tokens when he attacks. And then he can start fighting stuff, for 4 mana. This card is pretty freaking bonkers, man, on the top end of green. The Titans all saw play. So I like this card a ton. I'm big to partial green face beaters anyways. So, and the ones that, provide value as they enter the battlefield and when they attack is nothing to sneeze at. So this card is, to me, going to see play in standard, and maybe we'll even see play in historic in some kind of huge green rampy. That really, we haven't really seen green ramp. Seems like the meta is being destroyed by either Delirium decks or Jeskai decks. So it's kind of hard to get to 6 mana in limited. Maybe we'll see the return of kind of a Sultai ramp deck because of a card like this. Next, we have Unnatural Growth. Costs 5 mana, but gives all your creatures double. Multiplication is one of the strongest forces in Magic and in Math. So this would be really annoying to face in a mono green shell. It's kind of the top end of their curve. Just imagine this on like a Frog Behemoth or one of the Praetors, or anything like doubling your power toughness is nothing to sneeze at. I like this card a lot. You notice I like a lot of the green cards. Again, I'm more of a green mage anyways. So Willowgeist is an interesting card because I don't know that it's going to see play in mono green since they don't have a lot of ways to interact with their graveyard. So it's going to have to be in like a Golgari shell or a Sultai shell that actually has some graveyard interaction. But I like the fact that it's a 1-drop that can actually become impactful and grow and get big. I just don't think it's replacing the 1 green drops that are right now in mono green, because it doesn't really help them unless there's some sort of flashback shenanigans that mono green is going to employ. So because of that, I'm a little bit less on this card in standard, but maybe in historic it'll see play in some sort of dredge type deck or something like that. Hey guys, back with green common and uncommons that I think will have an impact in constructed Magic for Midnight Hunt. The first on the list is Death Bonnet Sprout. Again, as I've said multiple times, a decent 1-drop is hard to find. This card provides a lot of value over time as it self-mills you. And then at a certain point, you can transform it into a big beater. So this card, I also like the fact that it's a creature itself. We talked about how Stitcher Supplier is a great creature because if it goes along with Sticky Fingers and the other Golgari card that we spoiled, that we're having a large amount of creatures into your graveyard is very important. And this will help you fill up your graveyard quickly that way. And it provides a late game threat too, or at least a mid game threat. The next card is Duel for Dominance. This might replace cards like Ram Through, especially in the Golgari excuse me, the Gruul Werewolves deck that will probably be a thing in Standard. I obviously don't see this seeing any play in Historic Magic, or at least not likely. But, you know, an instant speed fight spell that has a slight bonus if you're rocking Coven can't be bad. Outland Liberator is a pretty interesting card for the same reason why that white creature that removes enchantments and artifacts is. Though this one might be a little better because on the back end, when it transforms into the Frenzied Trap Breaker, it actually could destroy the enchantment or artifact based on an attack trigger, which is huge. I definitely see this card coming in the mono green mirror match, basically to take out opposing Cadillacs. So yeah, great card. I think it'll definitely see play in Standard. Not so sure about Historic, but for Standard, I could definitely see this being a sideboard card. Standard Magic. The next card on the list is Path to the Festival. I guess this would be played in replace of Cultivate, which is rotating out with Standard, the core set leaving Standard. It's not as good as Cultivate, but it does have flashback, and it does allow you to scry one as long as you meet the conditions on the card. So yeah, you know, good ramp is ramp. So this is not terrible ramp. I've seen worse. And then finally, maybe the least likely to see play, but Tapping at the Window. If there is a decent dredge / reanimator strategy, this could be kind of the fuel, the gen engine fuel that fires that deck. Again, I don't like it as much as Death Bonnet Sprout, just because it is not a creature, it's a sorcery, but the flashback is nice and it's pretty efficient to be able to do 6 cards into your library, keep a creature card out of those, all for the low cost of 5 mana, you know, 2 for the first cast and then 3 for the flashback. So that does it for the green commons and non-commons that I think might make an impact in Constructed Magic. Thanks.